In the high Colorado Plateau country, near the region where 4 states meet, a rugged promontory rises from the valley floor. Atop the vast mesa, hidden in alcoves cleft in the vertical cliff faces of the canyons, are the remains of an ancient civilization. Built like a child's sandcastles against the immensity of the great stone walls, they stand in silent memory of the people who mysteriously abandoned them 700 years ago. Here, amid the spectacular work of nature, is the magnificence of the work of primitive man. Mesa Verde National Park is the largest archaeological preserve in the United States, containing the greatest number of cliff dwellings ever found. More than 600 cliff dwellings and 3,400 archaeological sites are scattered throughout the park. Mesa Verde was established as a national park in 1906. In 1978, it was designated a World Heritage Site, one of the first 7 sites so named in an international treaty by UNESCO. The park's special significance lies with its unique cliff dwellings, those silent and irreplaceable stone memorials to a vanished civilization. The people were the Anasazi, the ancient ones. This is Mesa Verde National Park, the first United States national park established to preserve the works of mankind. We are ARA, Mesa Verde Company. Come, stay, and see it with us. Farview Lodge, located on Navajo Hill atop the mesa, is the only lodging within the 52,000-acre park. Here, away from traffic and noise, is modern comfort. The lodge is placed in a setting of natural grandeur. Every room has a spectacular view, a private balcony overlooking the vast panorama of 3 states below the mesa. There is the friendliness and entertainment of the cocktail lounge and the outdoor terrace, and other amenities, timid mule deer venturing forth, the fresh, clean scent of wildflowers and shrubs, and the prevailing stillness of the high plateau country at night that makes for a sound and peaceful sleep. A leisurely pace and fine food is enjoyed in the dining room. The multimedia show on the Anasazi entertains park visitors and lodge guests. It explains Mesa Verde's cultural and natural history from the earliest inhabitants in 550 AD to the climax of Pueblo development in 1300 AD. Private tours and ARA's regularly scheduled tours departing from Farview Motor Lodge are arranged to provide a comprehensive overview of this civilization. Our guides are professionals who have participated in a joint training program with the National Park Service. The pit house, a semi-subterranean room, was used during the period of 550 to 750 AD by the first people known to inhabit Mesa Verde. The geologic structure of Mesa Verde helped determine the relationship between the people and their environment. Geologic history extends back 60 million years when the area was covered by a shallow sea. 25 million years ago, when the sea had retreated and the great escarpment was raised by forces within the earth, tributary streams began to carve the long, narrow canyons. The great cliff faces of the canyons are sandstone and a layer of shale, sediments of the ancient sea. The protective alcoves which house the cliff dwellings were carved over millenniums of time by water seeping through the porous stone. Sun Temple is a cryptic puzzle laid out under an open sky. Its function is not known. but archaeologists believe it may have served as an important religious ceremonial structure, a hypothesis supported by present-day Pueblo Indians. Ruins Road Drive provides easy access to vantage points along the canyon rim. Cliff dwellings may be viewed from the rim and mesa top ruins visited. Wayside exhibits interpret the development of the Anasazi culture. After a morning of touring the ruins, tour guests experience a welcome treat. Chuck wagon lunches, the tantalizing sight and smell of food served in a shady pinyon grove. Appetites sharpened by the clear, fresh air and a natural setting. It is a time for refreshment and relaxation, for sharing, and perhaps forming new friendships. A page from the past comes alive when taking an adventurous horseback or wagon ride at Lookout Point. Once Spanish explorers, then pioneer settlers and cowboys traveled the mesas and valleys of the land of the ancient ones. After the ride, a hearty Western breakfast is served. Moorfield Village Campground offers almost 500 landscape campsites. It is a pristine hideaway, situated in one of the park's many canyons. Authentic Native American arts and crafts are featured in one of the finest and largest gift shops in the Southwest. All articles sold in the shops meet the United States National Park Service production standards for genuine Native American handcrafts. Workshops and demonstrations are regularly held by Navajo and Ute Indian artisans. Within the Archaeological Museum, famed dioramas depict the evolution of the Anasazi culture. Early farming Indians used the caves for shelter almost 2,000 years ago. Structures evolved through the centuries from pit houses to small mesa-top villages. Construction of the cliff dwellings began about 1200 AD. Spruce Tree House is the third largest cliff dwelling. It contains 114 rooms and is thought to have been home for 100 people. Cliff Palace is the largest cliff dwelling in North America. It housed 200 to 250 people in its 217 rooms. It clearly indicates the engineering skill of its inhabitants. It is representative of the golden age of the Anasazi culture. Most of the daytime work was carried on in the courtyards. Here, children played, women ground corn, prepared food, and made baskets and clothing. The circular underground rooms in the courtyards are kivas, a Hopi Indian word meaning ceremonial chamber. It is a religious structure where the spiritual needs of the community were met and where long winter hours were passed socializing. In the floor of the kiva is a small hole called the sipapu, the symbolic entrance into the spirit world. Conical pipes called cloud blowers were used with native tobacco in various ceremonies. Prayers were made to the spirit world for luck in hunting, rain, or good crops. Balcony House, the fortress, was possibly constructed as a result of enemy pressure. Its 45 rooms and 2 kivas were built on a high ledge. Stone and fill material were laboriously carried into the alcove to level it for house construction. The low wall provided protection from the edge of the sheer cliff. Its location made it virtually impregnable. Its one entry-exit way was carefully fortified. A guard could have easily controlled everyone entering or leaving. Entry is made by climbing a steep 30-foot ladder, a modern convenience not available to the Anasazi. The exit is by a toehold and chain route on the canyon wall. Before the pioneers, before the pilgrims, even before Columbus, there were the Anasazi, the ancient ones. Here is everyone's dream of a mythical lost city to be explored. Walk through deserted rooms, haunted by the invisible presence of an ancient people. Peer into darkened kivas and imagine secret ceremonial rites. Experience the solitude, the silence, and the stirring of primal feelings and fears. We are ARA, Mesa Verde Company. Come with us where the spirits rise to see, enjoy, and wonder.
The center of the Pueblo universe. Remote, vast, inhospitable. This is sacred land, where shifting light scatters mysteriously across the broad landscape. This is a land of contrasts, where the earth is stripped bare, exposed to the powerful forces of nature. A land of extremes, where survival seems impossible. Here the winds announce a passing presence. They call themselves the people. Moving onto these high desert plateaus thousands of years ago. Echoes of a distant time retell their story. For centuries, the people crisscrossed the deeply etched drainages of the Colorado and San Juan rivers, evolving from wandering bands of hunters and gatherers into a remarkable civilization. They built amazing stone cities, modeled after the natural forms of their habitat. Then, 800 years ago, they mysteriously slipped away. Now empty, these weathered ruins haunt our imagination. Archaeologists call their culture Anasazi, the ancient ones. Who were these people? Why did they build here, amidst this barren vastness? Do not look for a remote, primitive people. Interrogate the landscape. The earth reveals their story. They have left a powerful mosaic, fragments of a people, place, and time. Reach through the layers, absorb their echoes, listen to their ancient legends, told and retold by their Pueblo descendants.
The Creator speaks through the rocks and stones, the singing moon, and the great breathing mountains. Everything is alive. Living spirits of our ancient ancestors. In the beginning, there was only the Creator, the dark, infinite void. Three previous worlds were created and then destroyed by fire, ice, and flood. Those of one heart with the Creator were saved, protected in the underground world by the ant people. They taught us to be industrious and showed us the proper way of life. Respect, harmony, love. Finally, the last great flood subsided. From the bowels of the earth, we climbed up through the Sipapu into the light of this, the fourth world. The dark purple light rises in the north. A yellow light rises in the east. Then we, the flowers of the earth, come forth to receive a long life of joy. As we emerged, the god of the underworld and caretaker of this new land greeted the people. He gave us different languages and colors of skin. He commanded 4 great directional migrations. You must separate and claim the earth for the Creator. Then you will come together again at the center of the universe. We met the great eagle. He said to us, I am the master of air and height. I represent the loftiness of our spirit.
For centuries, wandering clans merged with the environment as they adapted to this harsh habitat. For hundreds of years, small nomadic groups of extended families traveled with the seasons. They gathered seeds, berries, roots, supplementing their diet by hunting. Each new generation repeating the techniques and ways of their ancestors. Their temporary shelters were often caves where others had stopped before them. They moved often, following the flux of wild plants and animals. Survival depended on an intimate knowledge of their arid environment, responding to the rhythms and patterns of the natural and spiritual worlds. They learned that certain plants yielded foods, medicines, and fibers. They became master weavers, creating blankets, mats, and baskets from reeds and yucca. Like branching arroyos, their migrations cut deep into time and territory. They recorded their travels in stone, sanctifying their stay. The Anasazi made a slow transition from hunting and gathering to gardening and farming. At first, they would plant small plots of squash and corn, leaving them unattended while they retraced their ancestral gathering routes. If the crop failed, they fell back on traditional wild foods. Slowly, agriculture brought a more settled life, where digging sticks became as important as spear points. Increasingly, their life centered around corn. Gradually, the Pueblo people came to farm the mesa tops and river bottoms. Over time, they evolved into master farmers. Stored surpluses now spanned harsh winters and long droughts.
Corn was given to us by the Creator. The corn mother is the milk of human life, taken from the breast of our earth mother.
The Pueblo people knew continuity more than change, each generation repeating the successful techniques of their elders. New methods were slowly merged into the repetitions of older lifeways.
Our daily life is like prayer, a constant quest for balance and harmony.
The slow shift to agriculture resulted in more permanent communities. Increasingly, they lived in subterranean homes called pit houses. No longer required to constantly move in search of food, they clustered together in small settlements. Populations increased, and their culture grew in complexity. They began to borrow ideas from neighboring peoples. Cotton was adopted and woven into cloth. Beans were added to their crops and diet. Baskets gave way to pottery, adorned with signs and symbols of the natural and spiritual worlds. By the year 1000, these prehistoric Pueblo people had settled in small villages throughout the vast drainages of the San Juan River. Permanent Pueblo structures were now built above ground. Rooms for the storage of foodstuffs and small living quarters were clustered around open central plazas. Here, most of the daily work was done communally.
Our universe is divided into two realms, the upper world of the living and the lower world of the spirits.
Over time, subterranean pit houses evolved into religious ceremonial chambers, kivas.
The underground kiva symbolizes the womb of our Earth Mother. Here we rejoin the living spirits of our ancestors. In the kiva, we smoke together and call to the ancient ones. We ask them to return as clouds, bringing precious moisture to our fields. The sun traces our road of life, the perfect circle of light and dark, of life and death.
The people watched the skies and marked the movements of sun and moon. Celestial calendars announced the times to plant and harvest. About 900, along a broad, desolate wash at the heart of Anasazi territory, the people began construction of a fantastic complex. Eventually, 13 multi-storied pueblos prospered along Chaco Canyon. Masonry of the highest technical and aesthetic accomplishment forms these massive structures, the work of master builders. At its peak, perhaps 5,000 people lived and worked here. An elite group of planners and engineers must have designed these great structures for others to build. Chaco seems the epicenter of Anasazi culture. An extensive road system radiating out from Chaco linked traders and travelers with outlying settlements and distant neighbors. The Anasazi exchanged turquoise and pottery for shells from California and macaws from Mexico. At Chaco, religion seems a central focus.
All things are connected. Our ceremonial rites create the seasonal rhythms and the movements of the cosmos.
Slowly, this great Chacoan culture seemed to slip away, yielding its eminence to another Anasazi center to the north, Mesa Verde. Here, other groups had farmed the Dolores Valley for centuries, and over time, they too developed a remarkable center of Anasazi culture. About 1100, the people abruptly abandoned their Mesatop pueblos and returned to the caves of their nomadic ancestors. Some speculate they moved into these protected sites as a defense against raiders from outside the Pueblo world. Weather seems to have dictated their destiny. They abandoned their cliff dwellings after only 150 years of habitation. During the 1200s, waves of unrelenting droughts slowly forced the Pueblo people from their ancestral homelands. They began slow migrations south from Mesa Verde and Chaco toward the more dependable waters of the Rio Grande. The Kayenta district in the west of Anasazi territory was perhaps the last to be abandoned as extreme droughts forced their final exodus. The Anasazi were later to re-emerge as the Pueblo people of today. The Zuni, the Keris, the Tanawins, and the Hopi. The ancient ones left behind places of wonder, not of people. Places of wind, not of voices. Yet, the Pueblo presence still echoes through these sacred ruins. They now mark the boundaries of ancestral lands. They are sanctuaries for the spirits of the Pueblo underworld.
The song resounds back from our Creator. Sounds and resounds for times to come.